just around Father's Day, a charity had a campaign, and they were looking for the worst dad's jokes. I don't know, did you see any of this online? The worst dad's jokes. And there was one particular joke which really made me laugh. And I'm going to tell the joke now. I'm going to tell part of the joke and see if you can get the answer to the joke, okay? How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? Any answers? 10 tickles. Now, okay, right here I got it, I laughed out loud, and then I thought, I became obsessed with it, I thought, octopuses only have 8. It doesn't make sense. So,
that was another sleepless night.
Another sleepless night, yeah. That's the way it goes. So, we've got a lot of talk, haven't we, about immigration and refugees. There seems to be a huge amount of talk for a number of years. And suddenly we're now blaming social media and seemingly forgetting about the mainstream press and the way they've actually portrayed immigration over the years, which has been absolutely shameful. And as you know, I think a lot of you know my background as a lawyer. I still can't understand why we can't open safe routes. I still can't understand why we put up with boats and then blame other people. I don't understand why we can't then process people who come by boat. They're not illegal. They're only illegal if their asylum application has been dismissed. So there's no other reason why they would be around. So the joke emanated from a campaign by the Refugee Council, and it was trying to illustrate the point and bring to public knowledge that if children come across by boat, they are not allowed to be joined by their parents or other siblings, even if they attain asylum status. And out of the people who come by boat, there's only a small number, 78% of those people who come across actually do attain status of an asylum, and right to asylum in this country. And so that's my view. We should have the ability to deal with these people. Now we're complaining that they take too much time and too much money in hotels. That's because the processing by the Home Office has been halted. Okay, so it's not their fault. And they've not taken away our libraries. That's because of cuts in public funding. You know, I had to laugh the other day when some right-wing protesters had burnt a library. Wasn't that what they're complaining about? We haven't got enough of it. But that took me back to 2021 November. We had the biggest loss of life in the Channel. Refugees lost their lives. 31 people lost their life in November 2021. Mainly due to the cold, but they were put on an inflatable craft. Unfortunately, it deflated, and as I say, they lost their lives. They were found the next day by a fishing boat. If you look up the circumstances of that, you'll see just the impact that had on the people on the fishing boat. But during the course of this voyage by them, they contacted the French authorities who told them, no, you're in UK waters, so contact UK authorities. And when they contacted the UK authorities, they were told, no, you're in French waters. And they also told at the time, because some of them had mobile phones, and my God, they had mobile phones, how dare they come across? But some of them had mobile phones and were keeping in contact with their relatives at home. And they were told, if you stop phoning us and put on your torch lights from your phone, then you will be found. But they weren't found. And a lot of the people who came across with aims. You know, there was a person on that voyage who was training as a doctor. There was someone else who was very good at sport and wanted to play football. And so these were people who were coming to aid the economy, not take from it. There was an inquiry into the tragedy. It didn't provide all the answers, and a lot of the families are still searching for answers, saying that the families, the relatives were let down. So this is a poem I wrote about this, and I have to say I find this a difficult poem. I've called it Asylum Seekers Fragmentation, because I don't think this poem works. But then in many ways I think it shouldn't work, because that night didn't work for those people. But in any tragedy there is always humanity. And the thing which really moved me about the accounts of that day from the few survivors was that as the craft deflated, and as they had to enter the water, they would hold on to each other. They would hold on to each other until such time as that person effectively faded, and they would then let go. And then to get hold of the next person who was due to come into the water. So I say it's hypothermia which killed most of them, but we can cure this, and politicians, all of them, should be held to account for anything that they say. So I apologise for this, but I just think it's relevant at the moment, and it's something which affected me at the time. So this is called, this is Refugees, Seekers, Asylum, Fragmentation. I held on to the hand of my newly found friend as we lay in the water. And in this bitter cold I prayed for our souls as the waves surged over my shoulder. Can you hear me? Is anybody out there? Anyone who might care? We come from Afghan, Ethiopia, Iraq, Kurdistan. Over 2,000 miles to shake off the yoke that destiny has dealt us. Can anybody help us? And many occurred, and you may well have heard, we fought on your side. And many occurred, and you may well have heard, many of us died. There's a young teenage boy, his dreams wrapped up in blue. Well, what would you do? He wants to play football for City. There's a young teenage boy, his dreams wrapped up in blue. They'll never come true. That's more than a pity. Can you hear me? Is anybody out there? Anyone who might care? Well, I'm sorry, my friend, I really want to aid, but you must be brave, it's out of my hand. You've drifted from French waters, you've crossed over borders. I have my orders, you must understand. Send a mayday to the UK, see what they say. But there's no safe way to the UK. Mayday. Well, they promise rescuers will come in the night, guided in by the light from our own phone torches. So sleep soundly, my love, hold on tight to our sons and our daughters. And I'll phone at first light when land is in sight and I'm saved from these waters. A young mother, 3 young children by her side. She's seeking safe shelter. Left her friends and her family, a country, a heart now in tatters. A new life for a young family is now all that matters. And you tell me true, what do we think when we read of such fate? And if only we knew the abject fear of flight. And what do we feel when our politicians and media feed their intolerant and inhumane seed? Does it matter? Does life really matter? I let go of the hand of my newly found friend, and he's drifting. My beautiful young teenage boy, his dreams unravelling in blue, body's given out too. My God, what were you thinking? A young mother, 3 young children by her side, awash in the tide, and I'm sinking. Can anybody hear me? Is anybody out there? Can anybody see me? Anyone? Thank you.